All right, all right. Welcome back, everybody. I'm flying solo today because Ken was not feeling well, so I'm going to do my best to produce this on my own. So, welcome back, everyone, to Creative Briefs. This is our weekly recap of the top news and analysis from the creator economy. Every week, we bring you a roundup of all the news that we find, our thoughts on what's going on in the news, and sort of try to tie it all together. We do go live on Fridays at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And you can find out more over at created.show, which is our official show page. Let me see if I have these wired up right. No, of course, now my buttons aren't working. Yeah, here we go. So all our future episodes are going to be over at created.show. Feel free to run over there if you want to find out about when we're going to be up next. We have a huge array of great guests booked all the way through December 8th right now. So we look forward to seeing you there. In addition, if you do want long form content, you want our show notes, the links to everything that we're talking about, obviously, you can follow us on social media. We are Created Economy everywhere you go. However, you can also head over to createdeconomy.com, which has long form posts and everything else that you may need in between. We do stream on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, YouTube. Today I'm streaming to Twitter. I'm not sure where that's actually going, but we'll see what happens with that. But if you are out there listening or watching, by all means, tell us where you're coming from and if there's anything specific you want us to talk about in the future. So with that, by the way, last thing to remember, we are doing our AMA drop this week. So if you don't know, the AMA coin is the rally coin behind our show. It is how we capture the community and how we reward them for participating and being part of the story. It's free money. So basically scan that QR code or head over to bit.ly/AMA-drop-4. You'll be able to get 1.7 AMA through the end of the show. Once the show's over or so, we will be all done. So with that, I'm going to jump into this week's news because we do have a lot and I have to finish a little early today. So welcome back, everybody. So yeah, lots of news going on this week. One of the things that we saw happening is in the NFT world, we see increased coverage and increased representation. So whereas United Talent Artists previously had taken over, who was it? Beeple, I believe they were representing. Now, CAA is representing the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Now, I think this is interesting in a lot of ways because, number one, I don't know if we know what happens to NFT projects as they sort of scale outside of this ecosystem, right? But it is interesting to see them getting representation. I think ultimately what the opportunity here, or what folks are trying to figure out, is are these one-hit wonders, or are they going to move past that into something else? You look at like what happened with Angry Birds. It turned into like this huge manifest sort of ecosystem. Can that happen to something like the Bored Ape Yacht Club? Maybe. Or is it going to be something that doesn't really scale that way? I don't know. It's a little hard to say. I do think, that what makes for great NFT projects ultimately are communities, interactions, and experiences, how those translate into the existing world that we know, and of course, into the quote unquote metaverse. It'll be very interesting to see what happens in that regard. Also bundling up with some NFT stuff. Twitter this week has announced that they are a couple of things, interestingly. Number one, they are supporting Bitcoin for tipping. And Jack Dorsey has been a huge fan and advocate of everything related to Bitcoin. Seems to be fairly dedicated and committed to the Bitcoin ecosystem. Personally, I don't think if you have Bitcoin that you should spend it. It seems like the kind of resource that's worth holding on to. But if you want to tip because it means something to show your appreciation in that manner, I think it's a great thing. I know I've seen like Jane Wong or Jane Manchin. Jane Wong's friend, Jane Manchin, on Twitter has already said she's received her first tip in Bitcoin. They're using a service called, what was it called? Strike, I believe, is the platform that they integrated with to actually deliver those Bitcoins to creators. So another interesting way to sort of start to bridge that gap into that ecosystem. Obviously, not a lot of people are holding enough Bitcoin that they may be sending it around, but interesting to see what happens. There are other things coming up here, lots of stuff in here. One of the things I saw was profile pictures also being sort of embraced as an opportunity. So these PFP NFT projects, the profile NFT projects, Twitter is going to be apparently providing a way to validate that you actually have ownership, I guess, by connecting your wallet. And then basically you could use that profile picture in a more verified manner. So that's a pretty interesting opportunity for the NFT space, I think, as it starts to commingle into the Twitter universe as well. There are some other notes here. I'm reading Ken's notes, so I apologize. But he did note that the ability for creators to record and replay their spaces is coming soon, expanding the ticketed spaces opportunity, and of course, improving newsletter discoverability and space discoverability. So lots of interesting things. Twitter clearly not turned off by sort of the early traction on super follows. I'm glad. I want them to continue to try doing more and more. There is a new creator earnings dashboard coming as well. So another interesting opportunity. Just going on to that, hey, how do creators make money in this universe? Of course, Tumblr, not to be forgotten, has now added in what they call Post Plus. I don't remember the last time I actually went to a Tumblr destination, not by accident. But they are apparently bringing Post Plus, which is a paid version of Tumblr, into the ecosystem. They're adding a $1.99 month price point in the open beta, but then subscriber-only content could be priced at $3.99, $5.99, and $9.99. Tumblr will only take 5% of creator profits comparatively. Patreon takes between 5 and 12%, as the article is sort of making note of. So 5% seems like a pretty decent price point, I think, for Tumblr to be entering. I would love to talk to someone who's still an active Tumblr creator, just because I haven't seen enough of this. And so I'm really curious what's going on in the Tumblr ecosystem. Don't know if we should be paying more attention to it, I guess, potentially. Moving on, speaking of which, did I put this article the wrong way? I think I forgot to open an article up. But in any event, there's an interesting site called Fuck You, Pay Me. And, I think we talked about this in the past. But I think a couple of weeks ago, we had mentioned something in a similar area, Influitive, I think it was. But the idea of this is really to create more transparency and openness in how and who is paying what, right? And so there is a platform called Fuck You, Pay Me. And it is an all-time great company name. It does harken back to my Phil Kaplan days of Fuck Company, where there was like trade secrets being shared behind the scenes. Also similarly in vein, Blind, which is another great resource where people are sharing insider information or backstories. But I think like the interesting note here, of course, is that Fuck You, Pay Me is an app that lets creators analyze brand deals, including what they're paying, what it's like to work for them. It's been compared to being a Yelp for influencers. I'm just reading Ken's notes here. But the company has raised $1.35 million in funding. Wow, great. And the money will be used to improve the product, include building out the company's engineering team. So yeah, again, I think the broader story here is how do we increase transparency? How do we increase visibility? How do we increase communication and channels that are going on behind the scenes? Interestingly enough, there was just to thread the needle here a little bit. Legion has a post, and in a rare moment of agreement, I would say, she does talk about several motivations. I highly encourage you reading this thread. Head over there. But she does talk about sort of what she calls, what are these called? DCAs, which is decentralized. I want to just find the one that mentions the definition here. She's talking about the labor movement ultimately, and I think like what the implications are relative to the creator economy, and more importantly to platform style creators, right? And so what these DCAs are really decentralized groups organizing. And I think she outlines, actually, it's a good read. Go read this post about the labor movement. It's over on HBR. But what she is talking about here is ultimately that there are a number of ways that even though we do not have direct proxy in these platforms to necessarily influence directly, we have alternative ways of influencing. And she does go through in the post to outline a number of ways that creators can activate together. And so one of those ways, by the way, being information sharing. right? So I think, something like Fuck You Pay Me is an interesting opportunity, or in the realm of actually helping to create the transparency that is actually useful and meaningful for creators to ultimately find um, a better path forward and better representation. There's another article that I forgot to open up, but the information does have a post. Let me see if I can get it real quick. This week also about why Disney, Chipotle, and others are launching creator programs. Now, if Matt Zavella was here from FamePick, he would already be complaining about sort of why these free to play sort of, or, free to post sort of things are super annoying, because what they're really doing is saying like, hey, how about if we give you a bunch of free stuff and you just work for free? And obviously, those companies have the opportunity to pay you. They just choose not to, or they try to get away with rewarding you in goods, right? So Disney's come out with a new program like this. Hollister, American Eagle, which is the owner, I believe, are all offering sort of, Hollister, owned by Abercrombie and Fitch. There's also American Eagle has got their own initiative. So there's these programs out there. And I think, the thing to be careful of, or to think about as a creator, just looking at these opportunities is, what do we have available to us? And are we really being compensated in a way that is meaningful, for our use cases, right? So I think, there are a lot of opportunities for us to be more successful and actually to demand more, right? From brands themselves. So don't think that getting rewarded in free product is enough, because honestly, it's not. You should get paid for doing the things that you're doing, and that's a reasonable place for you to actually be. So I would also say, what else can we just add here? I'm sorry, just making a quick adjustment here, and then we're going to be back. All right, publish that change. Let's go to live. All righty. So let's go to our next article here. Cameo. If you're familiar or a fan of Cameo, you've probably seen already. But Cameo for a while has had a program called Calls. Now, previously, what they were doing was they used to basically help coordinate Zoom meetings for you. But what they finally rolled out now, they've kind of retired the Zoom-oriented sort of changes. What they have done is now natively rolled this into their own app, and they are actually allowing for creators to then coordinate these calls through the Cameo application itself. Who knows? Maybe that new enablement of not having to pay the Apple tax is now giving them more vigor and more reason to sort of want to be present and participatory inside of the app ecosystem itself. What TechCrunch does note is that the talent sets the duration, the price, and the time. Duration and time. Come on, TechCrunch. I guess time they mean by like when the call will be. But yeah, duration, time, and price of their call are all set. Cameo does say that the average price is $31. I think it's interesting. Obviously, Cameo still tends to have a fairly selective audience. It tends to be focused on sort of the, I would say like, celebrity types, usually kind of D-list and up, or emergent experts. But I think it's interesting, and more power to them, and more power to creators being able to get paid for doing and spending time directly with their fans. Next up, we do have an article over at Variety about Twitch coming to an agreement with the National Music Publishers Association. If you're not aware or familiar, in the past, there's been a lot of sort of infighting going on. Twitch had rolled out sort of an integrated music platform so that more folks could leverage music inside of their streams. Unfortunately, that was leading to all kinds of like random strikes and all kinds of like confusion and like causing a lot of pain for creators themselves. What this actually has done now has sort of put them in a better footing. It's, as Ken's notes here say, Twitch has ended the hostile relationship it had with the National Music Publishers Association, saying the two will work together to build productive partnerships, between the service and music publishers. The idea is to create new opportunities for songwriters' creation to gain more visibility in the live streaming platform. This is also related to, interestingly enough, to a story that I don't think I have a link to, but I just saw this come through that TikTok is actually launching its own music streaming platform. TikTok obviously was a great way for doing music discovery, and so I think like what we are seeing is the commingling of music, live content, published content, gaming, all of these sort of forces, I think, acting together, really, really important part of what's going on today in our ecosystem and in the world at large, especially for creators. How music plays in, music's really important. And so I think like just seeing that more of these deals are being struck, also giving access to music creators, new opportunities to monetize, I think is just a wonderful thing. So I do hope that this relationship will be more fruitful and provide opportunities for more music creators to also be compensated while also adding more diversity and mix to the streams of other creators. A little more Twitch news, by the way. Twitch, I forgot. There's a setting I need to do to make that not do that, but I forgot to set it. But TwitchCon is going to be back in person next year. I guess 2021 is almost over. Yesterday, by the way, I was having trouble doing math. Someone made a comment about like this all denim look being when did this 90s denim look become vintage? And I was like, when it was 30 years ago. So I guess that counts. But any event, TwitchCon will be back in, I believe it's October. It's either September and October or October and November of next year, but it will be in person. There are two events. Yeah. July 2022, Amsterdam, and TwitchCon San Diego will be in October of 2022 as well. So let's hope all this pandemic crap is behind us by then and we don't have to deal with it anymore. But we will be moving forward with physical events and hopefully creators being able to reconnect with their fans and each other in person, which I know all of us are looking forward to. This one, I guess I opened twice. Sorry about that. Going on to our next story, though, Clubhouse has launched a new Wave feature. And apparently the purpose, I haven't tried it yet. I did see the icon for it the other day or yesterday when I was in Clubhouse, but I didn't click it. The purpose of it is to help creators bring or invite people in. I guess this maybe is a replacement for the ping feature maybe that was in there previously, but I guess it's just giving it a bit more UI. I know if you do click on a contact, you now have the ability to click on Wave at them, and I guess that will let them know where you are. With Wave, you can invite friends to a live audio room just by tapping a waving hand emoji. Once they receive the invitation, they can choose to join your call and immediately get added to an audio room. Okay, interestingly enough. Just tap to say hello. Okay, yeah, that's the Wave thing. And I guess, we'll see how that works out, if that increases engagement or not. I know previously we'd seen some challenges where Clubhouse had was not pinging people. So hopefully this can increase some of the presence in rooms. I don't know. We'll see. If you're using Clubhouse still, let us know. We'd love to know if we should be making sure to get our content back out on Clubhouse more often. Tell us in the comments. We'd love to know if you're doing that now. Discord also is now starting to test another interesting thing. They have YouTube integration coming in. So if you don't know, or you haven't been in enough Discords, there are often audio-based rooms. Now we are seeing an integration that allows sort of Discord to be video-based. There are video chats in Discord, but I have only seen standing audio rooms personally. This seems like an interesting opportunity because it's kind of like an opportunity to do co-watching with other people. So what happens in this integration is basically, and it's being tested on select servers, so it's not available everywhere. So if you are a server owner or operator, you may not see this option yet. But what it does allow is that the folks inside of a channel or a room can basically all control a video stream. This gives you the opportunity to say, bring in, say, premiere a video. Maybe if you're a creator, you want to premiere a video back out. You can load that up, show it to your fans, and actually be there with them and actually talk through it, or add a voiceover to it potentially. I think there are a lot of interesting use cases for shared video, not just because I'm building a live streaming platform that also can do shared video, but also because I think there are many, many times where the thing that you want to discuss is actually already in a piece of content. And so being able to talk about it and then have a discussion, maybe if you're running a cohort-based class, you could actually use Discord now to show some prepared content, and then actually have a discussion. Interesting opportunities. I think as more and more of this opens up, there are going to be more and more interesting opportunities potentially to be successful using Discord more and more behind the scenes. Now, I can't tell you for sure that Discord kind of drives me nuts. Maybe it's just because I'm suddenly find myself in a glut of them, but who knows? We'll see what happens with that. So just for my last story, in case you missed it, I did have one of my new threads out this week. Ken and I spent some time talking about this idea. It was like literally probably, it could have been 2 months ago that we started working on this. But what we did try to do is we came up with, we're trying to help provide a bit more granularity to the space. So we came up with a different framework for sort of talking about the creator economy. And ultimately, I think what we are trying to highlight here is that when we hear the term creator economy, it often is an overloaded term that's actually representing a lot of actually different sub-communities below. What we've attempted to do is sort of break down the creator economy into a couple of different quadrants. So there's a longer thread here. We've shared it out on our Twitter. It's on my Twitter as well. So feel free to go look it up. But here's what's interesting about sort of the framing here, I think, ultimately, is that we decided to look at who you service as a customer, individuals or businesses, and what kind or the size of your audience. So is it a mass appeal sort of audience versus like a niche market? And in each of these quadrants, I have identified a different quote unquote economy that we believe exists, right? So in the bottom left, if you are individual, like you're largely selling or working with or servicing individuals in a niche market, we call this, or more importantly, our friend Heather Ramirez calls it, the enthusiasm economy. And we believe that this is like that area where, it's the meetup groups who really are passionate about a topic. These are hobbyists potentially, maybe someone who may go pro eventually, right? But this enthusiasm economy is where you maybe are monetizing, things like specialty products, add-ons, adapters, you're selling resource files, you're selling, light kit extensions. But we think there's a lot of really passionate people here. That's really interesting. If you notice, the green screen is cutting out the little green circle in our diagram there. But yeah, I think, the idea being that this group of individuals, while it doesn't have to necessarily be small, but what it is more tight-knit and highly passionate set of people who are very enthusiastic about a specific topic area. So for example, it might be the Let's Get Live group, Facebook group over on Facebook, where Doc Rock and all of our other live streaming friends are. These are folks that are all super passionate about it. And the things that overlap here are very, very important. Heather at Just Create More, Heather Ramirez, Tom Buck, they have a community I think it's called Just Create More. I forgot, I'm a member of it. But charging for access to a private community where you can sit and share with like-minded people. These are the kinds of opportunities that we think are there and present for that grouping of people. In the top left, we have what traditionally I would argue, what I would traditionally argue is what we've known as the creator economy. This is folks who are using content as a way to build and acquire audience that ultimately they monetize through a number of ways. Now, because they are in the top left, they tend to be reaching a bigger audience, right? So what happens is you go from live streaming to talking about video at heart, or you start talking about marketing and all these other use cases for video and video content. You may be talking about content marketing as a whole, right? But it tends to be an expansion of the audience out of those super, super geeky, and I mean that in the best way possible, sort of passionate people into sort of more consumerized, more mass appeal use cases, right? Now, in addition, you also may start to work and target brands as your customers as well, right? So for example, in the creator economy, I believe that the primary drivers of revenue tend to be advertising, campaigns with brands, et cetera, right? And then of course, selling subscriptions to your content, or different kinds of engagements or interactions with you, right? Where people are tapping into you for your knowledge, right? The influence economy, which is the top right quadrant, right? Can I zoom in more here? as you can see here, and it's being screened out. But the influence economy, I don't call it the influencer economy because in general, I would prefer we didn't use that word. However, there are times where because of your reach and because of your knowledge and your expertise, you have influence over a meaningfully sized audience. And I think that that's a really interesting, powerful opportunity. It is where you are leveraging your audience and your notoriety to drive business initiatives, right? So these are places where, for example, becoming a brand ambassador, getting endorsement deals, advisory boards, partnerships, collaborations, producing your own product. When you truly have influence, this is when all of these kinds of opportunities unlock. Now, I want to be just really clear here. None of this is mutually exclusive. If you see this Venn diagram, you could be anywhere in here, right? So if you are the biggest player in a very, very small niche market, it means that you may very well have influence and you may be able to do and leverage all those kinds of opportunities. None of this is exclusive. So I just want to be clear that the reason for these quadrants is really to start to understand some of the nuance in these areas as opposed to just calling everything the same thing. Now, the last bucket, the bottom right, which is really, I think, when you're focused deeply in a niche area and you tend to focus on business customers, is what I would call the expert economy. Now, this has been there forever, by the way. So this is what most people actually knew beforehand. It's also where I think there's hyper growth in the creator economy that we are thinking about and as we see going forward. These are all the local domain experts. These are all of the folks who maybe are now finding their voice. But in the expert economy, you are transcribing your unique experience and knowledge into revenue. How? By creating courses, by publishing a book, maybe a newsletter, right? Consulting or advisory work, and of course, public speaking and other types of engagements. As I said, none of this is mutually exclusive, right? So can you become an expert and start selling access to you? Of course. Some creators think that that's disgusting and they only want to make content all the time. They don't like any of the kind of bit work that maybe happens by collaborating or working or selling their expertise. Personally, I love it. I think it's a great way to go. But it may not be your cup of tea, and that's okay. Whatever fits for you is where you will end up. Some people will do all of these things, right? They will have influence and leverage it. They will be creators predominantly. They are obviously passionate about something and may participate in the more deep parts through the enthusiasm economy. And of course, they may sell and leverage their expertise in lots of new and interesting ways. So at heart, I just wanted to quickly go over that. The thread's got there's 20 something posts in there. There's a lot of feedback on it. So we welcome your opportunities to sort of share your thoughts as well and on anything that we've mentioned here. We'd love to know if you think this is useful or not useful. Do you fit into this ecosystem in some way, shape, or form? And, can we have you share your thoughts and maybe if there's any dimensions that maybe we've missed, because we'd love to know about it. I can't get my camera back to get here. I'm trying to get back here. Here we go. So thank you so much for being here this week. I'm going to cut it short because I don't have Ken to banter with. But I did want to make sure that you all had a chance to sort of catch up on this week's news. Thank you so much for being here with us. Of course, if you don't know, we do stream twice a week on Wednesdays. We do created briefs. The Creative Economy Show, which is our interview series. I believe next week we have Justin Moore, the creator wizard, and Ash Rust from Story Road VC will be our guests. And we have check out our full website to get access to all of the full guest list. If you want to be a guest as well, there's a link up top that says guest list. Click there. There's a link to a form that you can put your name in to maybe be on the show as well with us. Thank you so much. Once again, and just to mention before we end up, if you want to participate in the free AMA drop, which is, by the way, free money, just go sign up for a Rally account and head over to this link. We will be dropping AMA this week. I think we've had like 15 or something people claim it already so far this week. So thank you so much, everybody. It's been wonderful being here, and we will see you next week. We will be back in full force, I promise. But that's this week's latest creator news. Have a great one.